Barn of Trinkets by Mikey Michael Robin. Chapter 1, Verse 1. This story really began over 150 million years ago, long before the prehistoric era. We'll begin this introduction sometime after the devastating extinction of the dragons, when those who roamed our world were an extraordinary diverse culture of Neanderthals, Cro-Magnons, Homo erectus, Denisovans, and Homo floresiensis. Without any rhyme or reason, in a not-so-civilized society, the Homo sapiens suddenly arrived. Most remarkably, nobody quite knows how they got there. What's even more remarkable is that soon after the arrival of the Homo sapiens, everyone else had just seemed to disappear for no other reason than what can only be explained as a mere coincidence. With everyone else gone, answers to questions had seemed to vanish along with them. So then, how was the Earth created? And how on earth did humanity start? Some people told tales that they perceived as fact, yet it always suggested a different narrative or contradicted one another's fable of events. Many people just didn't seem to care. Some say that it started with a bang! Others say it started with some kind of sea-mutated fish that could walk on land. Some people claimed Norse mythology and tried making the assertion that we were all born from either an oak tree or an elm tree. The Norsemen were quickly given helmets to wear after this claim. Some don't even believe life is real at all, believing your conscience is in some sort of hypnotic state, and this is all part of some kind of virtually simulated reality that is all just some made-up illusion. Some tell tales detailing back to our original home planet, Mars, explaining that our original home was destroyed by nuclear explosion, and that we are the aliens that have taken over the world. A lot of people claimed that they had evidence directly linked to an alien race of reptilian humanoids from Planet X, called the Anunnaki, who landed on Earth to seek gold, water, and to rule with an iron fist. The lowest of intelligence believe that nothing produced everything. Others believe that every and all information on that subject is lost, and the only way to obtain any knowledge of the topic must seek out the lost city of Atlantis and solve the riddles of the pyramids. While the beginning of mankind may forever be life's greatest mystery, and as ridiculous as many of these theories sound, most of us believe that we are all created by God. God, the supreme being, the ruler of all moral authority, to which created all the heavens and all the earth. It's said that on the first day, God called upon his first angel, named Samael, to bring God something called light. God created light. It wasn't very pleasant to have to work in the dark. Of course, he needed to see what he was doing, whether or not light was necessary in the hypothesis of if creating humanity was a mistake or not. God was incredibly proud of his work and never made mistakes. A perfectionist. If God hadn't liked something he'd done, no big deal. He'd just scrap everything and start over again. God wanted his perfect world. Creating the earth was in its beginning stages anyhow. A test run, nearly ready for a free trial. If wondered why he chose Earth to make this perfect world, it's assumed that God made sure our planet was light years away from all the work he was actually proud of. God wasn't ashamed of anything he created. Maybe, except humanity, it wasn't always this way. Not until the sixth day, when God created something else entirely. God created animals. The first animal the Lord placed on the earth's surface was a puppy. It was so loyal and so cute. He spent all day bringing animals of all sorts to life. This was God's favorite day. He used the earth as litter to spread animals all around. By the end of this day, shortly before sunset, God got an idea. Using clay to sculpture the perfect image, God creates man, granting him life, the most coherent species of them all. God names this man Adam and welcomes him to his perfect world. All the fruits that grew from the plants of the earth, all their seeds, were given to him. He gave Adam the power and authority to protect and care for all the animals God created. God was in fact a loving God. He grew a beautiful garden for Adam, with a waterfall to dive into off the cliffs, next to gorgeous mountains that had a delightful view of the rainbows that always shined bright off the Great Lakes. a home to where the heart was. Adam was charismatic and had incredible diplomatic skills that the Lord soon realized when both Adam and he debated, disputed, and rationally strategized a name for what they would call this garden. They both gracefully agreed upon the name, the Garden of Eden. Adam was in paradise. He would spend his days running around naked, with nothing to be ashamed of. He would learn to build shelter with dirt and create fire from sticks. Adam would bask in all the garden's available fruits. He ate grapes off the vines and climbed trees to cut coconuts. He shared tomatoes with the panda bears and peeled the skin off oranges for the hares. He made friends with every animal he stumbled across. Adam was a happy man. God, on the other hand, wasn't very happy at the time. In fact, God was rather upset. When Adam asked God what troubled him, God informed Adam that his first officer, his lieutenant commander, his number one, Samael, had fallen. Whatever that meant, God gave Adam a very emotional disquisition on the value of friendship, and to keep friends close to you because you may lose them one day. To help further understand what God was trying to say, God wanted to make Adam even happier. Whether or not this was God's first slip-up, mess-up, mishap, or whichever you want to call how humanity turned out, God created woman and gave Adam a companion. Adam named her Eve, meaning life. If wondered why God had created man first, it's because if he created woman prior to him, she would have given God a lot of advice he wouldn't have wanted. To cut to the chase, by the end of the week, she ruined it for both of them. God banned both Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden, with a lesson learned about disobedience and the consequences of those actions. The forbidden fruit was called the apple. The apple was meant to be God's greatest fruit. The tree of wisdom grew small, sour crab apples that weren't fully processed yet. The apple still needed to be genetically modified. Patience made perfection, and the perfectionist that he is, God told them not to eat from that tree, not until that fruit was perfect. God wanted to surprise Adam and Eve when the tree was ready, with the gifts of apple juice, applesauce, apple pie, and apple dumplings. How hard was it to not eat an apple from a specific tree in his garden, when they had hundreds of any other fruit they had ever wanted? There were no second chances. It was only until after the banishment was finalized that they felt shame. She had no other excuse other than to blame her actions on a serpent. Both God and Adam insisted she sounded crazy when she tried to convince them both that a snake could speak. Eve insisted she was telling the truth. She even told God that he was gaslighting the situation. When Eve tried convincing God that the serpent was fluent in the ancient Hebrew language, the snake looks at her and hisses. They were cast out of the garden for good. God called immorality a sin, and titled his first man and woman as sinners. They made dozens of excuses not to leave. They begged, even pleaded. It was embarrassing. God would send angels down to the garden to act as security, after Adam and Eve continuously kept trying to hop back over the gate. Eve had to be carried out physically by security numerous times, kicking and screaming, being very dramatic. Adam told her to calm down. It only escalated from there. God granted these angels flaming swords to defend themselves with, after his first creation's retaliation against their eviction notice. Their tenancy was up. The angels informed Adam and Eve that they would burn the entire Garden of Eden to the ground, with them in it. If they didn't, go away. God had the decency to teach them about indecent exposure and finally cast them out for good, never to return. Of course, for God's first attempt at creating humans, God's philosophy was you never know what you can do until you try. Approaching the idea of humanity with a sense of wonder and fascination that only his creations could discover. God was an observer. He watched Adam and Eve and their life on the outside of his beautiful garden, hoping it would get better for them. Unfortunately, it didn't get better.